Well, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. We're here this morning for our Administrative Matters meeting. I call this meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. I am Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners, and with me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally and Commissioner John Kafalis. To my right from the clerk's office, helping us with note-taking, we have Deirdre O'Neill. We have our county manager, Lorinda Volker, Tom Clayton from Public Affairs, and Michelle Bird, our Public Affairs Director. So welcome, everyone. We will begin, as we always do, with public comment. Looks like we have a couple people signed up, but we'll open it up to the group after that. And we have Phil Beerley first. So Phil, come on up. We'll have you introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Phil Beerley. I grew up at Johnson's Corner. My parents were the first managers. November 1st, 1955, we were on the way to my grandma's birthday party. We were a mile north of Longmont when United Flight 629 was blown up midair by 25 sticks of dynamite by a man named John Gilbert Graham. I will not mention his name again. He was a monster. He did it for $37,500 of life insurance that he purchased at Stapleton Airport out of a vending machine. I'm closely associated as both a witness to the midair explosion. My dad, being the manager of Johnson's Corner, immediately said, something terrible has happened, they're going to need help. We were at the crash site within 10 minutes. I was 5.5 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday, seeing the flaming wreckage and other things that I will not mention. My dad helped keep the looters away from the crash site. And in 1955, people haven't changed. They're still looters on disasters. This committee, I just came to request a proclamation from the Larimer County Commission about that, because this Saturday is the 70th anniversary of that disaster. There have been books that have been written about it. I personally have a letter. I can show it to you if you want to look at it. I can pass it to you and you can look at it.
You could hand it to Michelle over
It's
there.
a historical document that you can read. It was from the head of the State Patrol to my dad, because once we left the crash site, once they got enough law enforcement people, they came from Larimer County Sheriffs, they came from Loveland Police. The Denver Police Department sent over 100 officers to the site. The wreckage was spread over 6 miles, square miles. It was horrendous. Once they got enough people to man the roads and run roadblocks, my dad came home to Johnson's Corner at 1:30 in the morning. We got back home. He called in off-duty cooks and waitresses. He called all of our food suppliers and said, you get us truckloads of food. We fed the crash rescuers for 2 days until the National Guard could get set up. And that's what that letter is about. What I'm asking the commissioners, you commissioners, to do is to please maybe issue a proclamation. Well, county commissioners are issuing it tomorrow. We're having a meeting there. What I'd like is a proclamation, possibly from you commissioners, in honorarium of the 44 people that died on that site, but also for all of the first responders, what they call now. It was a lot of ordinary people, farmers, fire departments, police departments, National Guard. My father-in-law was in the National Guard and actually went to the site for 3 weeks to man roadblocks and repair vehicles and help recover the parts. So I'd kind of like to
Thank-
just ask the commissioners to make a proclamation.
Okay.
There's going to be a big not a celebration.
So Phil, I hate to
Yeah,
cut you off, but we give 3 minutes. So
there's a
I will tell
dedication
you, we will
happening
consider
Saturday and
this,
Sunday.
and we'll make sure that we're in touch.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for letting us know
The
about
Denver
this.
Police Department is making a memorial on Saturday at the old Stapleton Tower at 11 o'clock, and people are invited to attend that.
Wonderful. Thank
So,
you. All
thank
right.
you, ma'am.
Well, we will be in touch. You obviously want this back, so we're going to
Yes.
make sure you get that back. Okay. Well, in fact, Commissioner Shattuck McNally will hand it. Thank you for letting us know about that. We'll take our next public speaker, is Cindy Buckhart.
Cindy Buckhart, President of the Larimer County 4-H Foundation. I'd like to address last week's public comment regarding CSU Extension and the Larimer County 4-H Foundation. There appears to be confusion and misinformation about who we are, our compliance with the ranch requirements, and the reasons for our removal from the ranch facilities. The Larimer County 4-H Foundation has always operated fully in accordance with health, safety, and contractual standards. The decision to remove our organization from the ranch is not supported by facts. It seems to be financially motivated rather than driven by safety or compliance concerns. Larimer County 4-H Foundation is not connected to CSU Extension. We are an independent nonprofit organization with our own 501c3 designation. CSU Extension raises funds for its own programs, not for our foundation. It was stated that the county could no longer continue the carnival due to years of working with us on health and contract compliance. In fact, the foundation has 100% complied with every requirement placed upon us. When asked to stop bake sales, we complied. When required to only have packaged foods, we complied. I asked when has the foundation not complied with health or safety standards. Commissioner Stevens stated the decision was not financially motivated, but based on contract compliance and safety. Yet no specific health or safety issues have ever been cited. A core request for records of other organizations removed from the ranch since 2022 returned no responsive documents. This means our foundation is the only organization dismissed, despite 66 years of positive partnership and community benefit. The OVG manager expressed frustration that their concession stand was open during our carnival. Following that, they began looking for violations, despite our actions being consistent with the ranch's own event organizer guidelines, which allows cottage food vendors. This suggests retaliation rather than rule enforcement. Even Conor McGrath acknowledged that the foundation as a 4-H organization should not be charged for ranch use, which raises the question, if the foundation isn't an expense, what does the county gain by removing us? The answer seems clear, financial motivation. Conor McGrath has made the comment that the Peterson Toyota building is a commercial venue and not for nonprofits. The Larimer County 4-H Foundation has upheld every rule, every contract, and every safety requirement. The decision to remove us is not about compliance, it's about finances. This decision harms a long-standing community institution, one that has served youth, families, and the public for 7 decades. I urge you to reconsider this decision to correct the record and to work with us, not against us, in continuing the tradition and community service that the 4-H Foundation has proudly provided for 72 years. And I am submitting nearly 200 signatures of support for the foundation.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there anyone else who wanted to give public comment this morning? Michelle, was there anyone who wanted to call in with public comment?
Not this morning, Commissioner.
Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the commissioners. Any comments, commissioners? Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
Just appreciate everyone coming in and giving public comment, and thank you, sir, for sharing your story. Obviously, still impactful and very moving story. I appreciate our county manager coming to speak to you, and we'll certainly look into to this. And thank you for bringing this to our attention, and we thank you for sharing all those details and letting us look at that very important document. Appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kafalis?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Beerley. I appreciate being reminded of what happened on November 1st, 1955, and how you folks, you and your family, were so close to the tragedy. Regarding the proclamation, I'm sure that you had a constructive conversation with our county manager. We typically go through a bit of a process with proclamations, And given that the 70th anniversary is Saturday, it's a little bit, the timing is not the greatest, but I think you've accomplished a great deal by being present here today, by certainly doing your civic duty, as indicated by your your little sticker there. So thank you for that. But it's something we can follow up accordingly and figure out what is the best way, perhaps moving forward. So thank you, sir. Oh, and I don't have anything to add. I appreciate Cindy's persistence and passion. I don't have anything new to add based on what I've said in the past.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, Mr. Beerley, thank you for coming by and telling us about the story, because it's something that's a lot of us don't remember, or maybe weren't born then yet, but certainly had a huge impact on your family and the community. And it's remarkable to hear the story of how people came together to take care of one another, and your family feeding people. I mean, many of us kind of grew up eating at Johnson's Corner and spent a lot of time there, and that must have been really nice for the people who were first responders, because I can't imagine what it's like to respond to a tragedy like that. So, that's a great history that you shared with us. It's something that I didn't know a lot about. So, we'll certainly consider a proclamation, and we'll be in touch. I'm sure the county manager took your information, and so, but thank you again for sharing your story. And sorry we could only give you 3 minutes to do so, but it was a great story, and it's obviously made a lasting impression in your life, as it would, right? So thank you.
Very good article in the Colorado just recently about it.
Oh, good. We'll look at that Coloradoan article too then. Thank you. All right. Well, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes. And Commissioner Shattuck McNally, I'll ask you to make that motion.
Certainly, Madam Chair. I move to approve the minutes for the week of October 20th, 2025.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. We'll move to Michelle Bird for our schedule review. Thank you, Michelle.
Good morning, Commissioners. Here is your draft Commissioner schedule for the week of November 3rd through the 8th of 2025. On Monday, November 3rd at 10 a.m., you will convene as the Board of Social Services in the Commissioners' Conference Room on the second floor. At 1:30 p.m., you'll have a work session with Leslie Ellis, our Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources. And at 5 p.m., you may attend the Future of Water and Agriculture in Northern Colorado film screening, and that is at Northern Water in Berthoud. On Tuesday, November 4th, at 9 a.m., you will have administrative matters, which is this meeting in this room, followed by legal matters with the county attorney. At 1:30 p.m., you will have an executive session pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-4024F regarding personal matters, the county attorney performance review. And at 4 p.m., the commissioners may attend the Ranch Origin Arena ribbon cutting ceremony at the ranch in Loveland. On Wednesday, November 5th at 7:45 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the City of Fort Collins, Larimer County, and Poudre School District Liaison Meeting, and that's at the Johansson Support Services Center in LaPorte. At 8 a.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the Extension Advisory Board meeting at Blue Spruce Drive in Fort Collins. At 9:45 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will speak to the Larimer County New Employee Orientation in this room. At 1:30 p.m., there will be a work session with Emily Humphrey, Director of Community Justice Alternatives. At 3:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will speak to the Partnership for Age-Friendly Communities in the Larimer County meeting. We'll try that again. Commissioner Shattuck McNally will speak at the Partnership for Age-Friendly Communities in Larimer County meeting at the Elder House Adult Day Program in Fort Collins. At 6 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Environmental and Science Advisory Board meeting. That is a hybrid meeting. And at 6:30 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual North Interstate 25 Coalition meeting. On Thursday, November 6th at 8:30 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee meeting. At 11:30 a.m., Commissioners will present the 2025 Larimer County Innovation Award to the Department of Natural Resources team. At 4 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Colorado State University One Health Day celebration at Canvas Stadium. At 4:30 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Go No Co 34 Transportation Management Organizational Board meeting. And at 6 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may attend the Northern Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization Planning Council meeting that is a hybrid meeting. On Friday, November 7th, Commissioner Shattuck McNally will participate in the virtual State Forest Health Council legislative meeting. At 8:30 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the State Board of Human Services meeting. That's a hybrid meeting. At 9 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may attend the Regional Air Quality Council Board retreat at Ignite Food Service Solutions in Denver. At 5:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Estes Valley Investment in Childhood Success Gala, and that's at the Black Canyon Inn in Estes. And then on Saturday, November 8th at 8:30 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will host a community conversation for the LaPorte community. Guests will be the budget team to speak about the 2026 Larimer County budget, and that's at Mio My Pie in LaPorte. And at 2 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will speak to the Larimer County 101 class in the hearing room. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Michelle. Any corrections? Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Michelle. It's nice to see you this morning. I wanted to just add on the 5th, along with that, I don't know if this is doing the landfill tour in the morning, so I did from 10 a.m. till 12, so I didn't know if we should add that. And then on the 6th, it's looking very likely, but I probably will be chairing the Loveland, a special meeting for the Loveland Urban Renewal Authority on Thursday, November 6th in the evening, probably from 6 to 9, hopefully shorter than that. So I just wanted to get that on the calendar and noticed. And then also on Friday, we have the State Forest Health Council meeting. It's going from 8:30 to 10. And I don't, did you put, I don't, oh yeah, it is. Okay, because that's changed because we're doing deliberations. So, okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kafalis, any changes? Nope. Okay. Michelle, just a couple things for me. On Wednesday from 12 to 1, I think it's on my calendar, but I have the stack prep meeting with CDOT, and that's for both North Front Range and Upper Front Range. And then the meeting on November 6th, the I-20, no, I guess that's on November 5th, the I-25 virtual meeting, those have gone to quarterly, so I think that's an old invitation, so I won't be at that meeting because there isn't a meeting. Okay, thank you. All right, we will move on to our consent agenda. All right, I'll read through the consent agenda. We have one abatement, a petition for abatement or refund of taxes. We have 3 agreements. The first agreement is the county manager employment agreement. Our county manager's employment agreement expires at the end of this year, and so this is a new agreement that runs through December 31st, 2026. We have an agreement with Colorado State University as a subrecipient. The Larimer County was recently awarded $9.8 million from the U.S. Forest Service for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant, and this agreement confirms Larimer County's commitment to these grant funds. The next is an intergovernmental agreement for the collection and remittance of impact fees for the Berthoud Fire Protection District. Larimer County and the Berthoud Fire Protection District entered into an agreement in 2018 by which the county assessed, collected, and remitted impact fees on behalf of the district on new developments within that portion of the district's jurisdiction that lies within the county. And due to state statutes, the county and the district wish to terminate the original agreement and enter into this new agreement. And this will run until terminated. We have one appointment. It's a midterm appointment to the Larimer County Interagency Oversight Group for Chad Othank, and his term will run through June 30th of 2027. We have one liquor license, which is a liquor license renewal for Hidden Lakes Golf and Trout Club, doing business as Golf Club at Fox Acres in Red Feather Lakes, and this is a hotel and restaurant with optional premises license. We have the quarter 3 of the 2025 Public Trustee Report from our Treasurer and Public Trustee, Irene Josie. And so this is the document that runs from July 1st, 2025 through September 31st, 2025. And finally, we have two resolutions. The first resolution is a Colorado Parks and Wildlife non-motorized trail grant, requesting approval of a resolution supporting a grant application to Colorado Parks and Wildlife in the amount of $31,217 for the 2025 non-motorized trail program. And this funding would support the Larimer County Conservation Corps' Training Trail Skills Program, which provides professional trail building and restoration training to Corps members. And this resolution outlines the county's commitment to providing matching funds, completing the project, and maintaining its outcomes and public access for at least 25 years. And the final item and resolution on this agenda is the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Non-Motorized Summer Stewardship Program. Again, this is related to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. It is the dollar amount for this is $56,347 for the 2025 non-motorized trail program. And this funding would also support the Conservation Corps, this time in their Summer Teen Stewardship Program, which engages teenagers in trail maintenance on 4 high-use trails in Larimer County. The resolution outlines the county's commitment to providing matching funds, completing the project, ensuring long-term stewardship, and public access for 25 years. And I think we've all participated in some of that trail building. For me, I'm glad teenagers are doing it instead of me. All right, so that is the consent agenda. Would either commissioner want to remove anything from the consent agenda? All right, then Commissioner Kafalas, can I get a motion from you for that consent agenda, please?
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda for October 28th, 2025.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on any of these items? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. And now we have our guests. So welcome to State Senator Wallace and Brandon Schaefer, who are here to talk about the joint service overview. And so this is a really exciting item. We're going to be talking about rail on the Front Range. So welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. Also, thank you to Michelle for setting us up to succeed today. And also I would be remiss without saying it was 10 years ago almost that I moved to Colorado into Larimer County and got my start here. So it's kind of like being home to come up to Larimer County this morning. But I will just review for you all a state project that is proceeding through the planning process right now that's dubbed Joint Service, which is an intercity passenger rail service from Denver Union Station all the way to Fort Collins here, aiming to commence service by January of 2029. We can move on to the next slide. The state is really approaching passenger rail projects and expansion here in the state through a lens that uses existing underutilized infrastructure that is really making sure that we are prioritizing our relationship and collaboration with host railroads, in this case on the Northern Front Range, that would be BNSF, and then other transit agencies along the corridor as well, namely RTD in the Denver metro area until you get to Longmont, where their district boundary ends. Joint service is a starter service meant to be built upon by the Front Range Passenger Rail District. This is paid through existing revenues to the state, mostly through the fee structure. So we have the congestion impact fee, which was passed. This is a $3 a day fee on the use of rental cars that was passed last legislative session through Senate Bill 184. We are also paying through this project using the oil and gas production fee through Senate Bill 230, and then utilizing RTD's fast track sales and use tax as well, really making sure that we're just maximizing cost efficiencies across all the state agencies without having to go to a vote of the people to ask them to increase sales tax at this time. This really is designed to maximize the mutually beneficial infrastructure improvements. So everything that the state would pay for this project is also a down payment for the full build out of Front Range Passenger Rail, really buying down the cost of the project before that goes to voters and they see it on their ballot in a future election cycle. And then also we started this in August of this year, August 18th, that the state began negotiations with BNSF to get an access agreement, which, if I boil it down to most simplest terms, is the permission slip from the host railroad to commence passenger rail service on their line. The other line that we are also working on that's relevant to the Northern Front Range is being a partner and co-investor with RTD to complete their end line, which goes, I think, all the way to 100 and I don't want to get their street name wrong, but this goes 2 more stops north all the way up to, almost to Boulder County through Adams County. And so really leveraging that 230 funding, the oil and gas production fee, to just collaborate with RTD to provide more state funding to help them complete this. Next slide. This is just an overview for you all to see of what the state is currently working on right now. So we're not too far from a distant future where we have passenger rail service really originating out of Denver and Denver Union Station that goes not only into the mountains, but also would go north along the Front Range from Denver, Westminster, Broomfield, Louisville, really heading Boulder County, and then coming up here to Larimer to both Loveland and Fort Collins. So really passengers who are coming to Colorado tourists and also our own Coloradans flying into our world-class airport at Denver International Airport can take the A line all the way into Denver, really without ever having to get onto a vehicle and rent something and then travel either into the mountains or go north. What's also really exciting that you've seen the Green Line is joint service, which is what I'm here to talk about today, but really providing Fort Collins residents and Loveland, really all of Larimer County, the opportunity to also travel south into Denver in the morning, starting in 2029, which will be huge to alleviate traffic congestion on I-25, not to mention 287 as well, going down into Denver. Next slide. This is Senate Bill 24-184. This was the congestion impact fee that the legislature passed. Senator Janice Marchman, Larimer County State Senator here, was one of the co-prime sponsors along Senate President Steve Fenberg and passed this bill. But really, we've had rapid implementation of this bill, of this law, since it was passed. The parties all convened for the summer of 2024 and submitted their first report to the TLRC and to the governor's offices detailing their initial plans and their initial collaboration that started last year. Previously, RTD, CDOT, Front Range Passenger Rail, and the governor's office had never come into the room together to jointly collaborate to commence this kind of service. Each entity was kind of going it on their own. So RTD was looking at Northwest Rail, Front Range Passenger Rail was looking at their service, and then CDOT also statutorily can also commence passenger rail service. So bringing them all together to mutually benefit the planning process and leverage existing funds. By the end of last year, the parties agreed. The state legislature outlined for them 3 different really opportunities to collaborate with each other. They could leverage a Colorado Rail Authority. They could stand up a nonprofit, like a government nonprofit, and do it through that, or they could use an intergovernmental agreement. Because the legislature didn't give them the funds to explore a rail authority, they went through the easiest path, which was an intergovernmental agreement to really collaborate and force the parties to come together. The second report in March was submitted on time again to the TLRC and the governor's office that really answered the question, is there enough existing revenue today to commence the service? To which that report answered a resounding yes. If we were to leverage 184 funds, 230 from the state, and then RTD's board of directors, if they were to also approve using some of their sales and use tax from fast tracks, we could commence the service by 2029. And then shortly thereafter, by June of this year, a 3-week sprint, which was really fun, getting through 5 governing boards, the IGA, the Intergovernmental Agreement. That was over 50 board members that we had to go through at that time, but it really formed what is the governing body of joint service, which is the Joint Service Executive Oversight Committee. So that is the General Manager and CEO of RTD, Deborah Johnson, Herman Stockinger, who's a Deputy Director of CDOT, Piper Darlington from CTIO, Craig Seacrest from CTE, Lisa Kaufman from the Governor's Office, and then right now it's former Representative Sal Pace as the current General Manager of Front Range Passenger Rail to really oversee and steer the project. That way it wasn't staff, it was really directed by the leaders of all these agencies. So we formed that in June of this year, and then shortly thereafter in August, we were able to commence negotiations with BNSF. We can go to the next slide. So this is really a collaborative effort. This just goes over the joint service basics for you, really leveraging all of the parties at the table to bring a starter service from Denver to Fort Collins that can be built upon. We are looking at 3 daily round trips to start this service. That's what we could provide today with the existing revenue without having to go to a vote of the people, and really build confidence in voters to see this, and also Coloradans to see that state government can still do big projects and do it on time, on budget, and really do this without having to ask them in this current climate to ask for more sales tax increases at the ballot. No one agency right now can currently deliver on their planned independent service. And then also this collaboration was mandated by 184. The legislature really saw, and the senators really saw, that each project commencing would be kind of detrimental to each of them if they went alone. So bringing them together, making sure that they leveraged their resources and their technical staff to work together was really a key driver here to really make sure that we had one access agreement, one operator on one alignment to really drive down the cost. The guiding principles for joint service is really making sure that we design the most cost-efficient project and delivery model that can be brought to market as fast as possible. Designing the initial service also within BNSF's right-of-way to really minimize future regulatory approval from the federal government as well. And then also leveraging wherever possible existing infrastructure and investments that have already been made by any of the parties today. And then again, I think this is really big for the project, but no new taxes are needed to commence service, which is a really big selling point and a really big leverage point as well. You kind of see here on the right, all in yellow. This is the yellow dots are just front range passenger rail's initial alignment, and then we added the blue dots there to really service Westminster, Broomfield, and Louisville to ensure that a train that they have in that neck of the woods, they would say they've been paying for 20 years, that they wouldn't see a train go by without stopping in their community. So we added those to the alignment as well. Next slide. This is just the governance. I kind of went over this a little bit, but just created the joint service EOC that acts on behalf of the group and the public entities. This does not supersede or impact the authority of any of the agencies that entered into the IGA. Each still retains their statutory authority to plan, spend their own monies, and each governing body, each board of directors from CDOT down to RTD and FRPR still need to approve any funds going to this project. So really it makes sure that all of them are bought in at the time of the project and at any decision point that they need as well. That is the biggest takeaway from this slide here on governance. And then I'll turn it over to Katie Wallace to kind of just go over these slides for you.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much for having me. Lovely to see you and to be in beautiful Larimer County on such a great day. So I'll just take you through the end of the presentation here. What you can see here is the three projects that Brandon was describing and kind of the benefits of moving forward with joint service and having one operator working under one access agreement on one route. So joint service is a hybrid model. It's a hybrid commuter and intercity passenger rail that will simply, as we talked about, add service to Louisville, Broomfield, and Westminster on top of what was already planned by FRPR. It would start as a starter service with 3 daily round trips that are bi-directional between Denver and Fort Collins, both in the morning and in the evening. And as you can see here, the start date is January of 2029, compared to the Peak Rail RTD's service, which was projected to go, if they were to go at it alone, wasn't projected to start until 2045. So this is a much sooner service, which I think our citizens are really looking for. FRPR is still completing their development plan and is contemplating 10 daily round trips between Denver and Fort Collins under a full build-out scenario. But to do so, they would have to return to the ballot, and their timeline is still being discussed by their board. So we could move forward with core parts of their project, again, without having to go back to the ballot. And then I'll just mention RTD released a report last year that encouraged collaboration amongst these entities. Their study also looked at those 3 daily round trips and identified funding challenges that they would have in order to get it started before 2045. Thank you. Perfect timing. Wow. This is the timeline that we're kind of working along. One thing that I want to highlight from 2023, we as Coloradans should be very proud of Front Range Passenger Rail. They were selected in a competitive nationwide process to be a national pipeline and an invested corridor. And at the time of acceptance, they were one of only 2, and they have made significant strides and are currently the most advanced corridor in the nation, and preparing to advance into next steps there. So we should be very proud of the what they've put forward, and what you can see through the rest of the timeline is the rapid project development that we're seeing, and the progress towards reaching that one access agreement with BNSF, as well as bringing all of these parties together into one single mission. In June of 2025, in a 3-week time frame, all the governing boards, as was mentioned, came together for this intergovernmental agreement and became really a united front that's allowed us to move forward this summer into the negotiation process. I think we can go next. Perfect. So this is where we're heading next. It's our proposed timeline, we want to reach a deal by the end of this year, or the with BNSF by the end of this year, or just the very start of the next year, so that we can return to the joint service project team, we can return to all of the players and come back to them for votes, as we talked about, as Brandon mentioned. They still have to approve funding for this, so we'll come back with an agreement. Following that, the Joint Service Project team will I've just mentioned that, sorry, we'll go in front of each of them and present, and they will be able to approve their financial boards. And then once that has been reached, we will start seeing the full team move forward with implementation of the project and towards that 2029 start date, which is just so exciting. Great. And then this is the overview of what we will likely see from our access agreement, so what's being negotiated right now. So on the left side, what we will learn is the agreement on the route and the stops, an initial schedule, the structure of the relationship between the railroad, BNSF, the state of Colorado, and our operator. And then we'll also understand our access fee, right? So what we're paying to put out, the annual operations and maintenance cost, insurance and indemnification, which are very important in order to be performing these services, and then we'll potentially look at performance incentives too, right? So trains on time, getting things together in a good way, could potentially lead to performance incentives for the operator and other entities. And then finally, the construction. So what we would need to invest in projects in order to get this started, as well as future changes or potential increased frequency. What we will not learn through this agreement is the annual operating costs for the operator and the associated maintenance costs, so that will still be to come, and then the purchasing of the rolling stock options, that'll also be to be determined, and then our expansion for full service of all of Front Range passenger rail will still be in the works as well. That is the end. I just want to say, I think that you all probably have had this struggle too of trying to ask people to, or having to direct people in how to get from DIA to Fort Collins. What work, right? And so finally, Colorado is here taking bold steps to make sure that we're bringing all of the players together to get the folks, one, something that they've already been funding, and two, something that will be critical to our infrastructure and us moving forward as a state. Do you have anything else you want to say? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a lot of information, and but a lot has happened, right?
Yeah.
And so, thank you for letting us know. Questions, Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
Thank you, Senator Wallace and Brandon, for being here. Senator Wallace, I've known you since about 2017, I believe, and it's so great to see you here today. And thank you for all this information. And Brendan, just appreciate all the work you're doing. You really try to get out there and help educate folks and move us along. So we're really glad to have you today. A couple of questions I have is joint agreement and working together, which is great. I always believe in collaboration is the way to go. We're better together, right? And I'm wondering about who is there a new train? Who's train? Because I was fortunate, along with Commissioner Stevens, as we rode with that initial train service where we drove down to Union Station, and then we were able to come up, and that was great to see, especially driving through my hometown of Longmont, where you now represent, Senator Wallace. So I'm wondering, is who's do we know yet who's operating the train? Is it a new train? What does that look like?
Yeah, so there are two agreements being negotiated right now concurrently. The state of Colorado, RTD, and FRPR are negotiating the access agreement with BNSF to just get a train on their tracks and kind of get to a schedule, station, a route, the speed, all of that. There's also a concurrent path that's also occurring that may involve Amtrak as a potential operator. The reason Amtrak comes to the forefront of an operator is that there's the insurance and indemnification piece. Colorado state constitution bars the state from actually indemnifying a third party, which makes getting to a deal like this extremely difficult. So a lot of creative solutions have to be thought of here. And so that they are also federally, they being Amtrak, are federally backed by Congress. The railroads really look for about $300 million every year in insurance coverage. That's a lot of money, but they are federally backed by Congress for that. And so that's why Amtrak as an operator does come to the forefront as a likely operator for that sole purpose of insurance and indemnification. And that just makes our partners at BNSF much more comfortable.
Thank you, if I might, Madam Chair. That's another level of complexity I see. So thank you for that. Also, I know Fort Collins City Council Member Trishna Kanako is on the Front Range Passenger Rail, and she's leading that, I think, or she's very involved with that. She's been sharing a lot of information with me about the progress of this, and she's so excited,
Yeah.
and also very excited to be a part of some of the groups leading this. Can you, a lot of folks may not, especially in Larimer County residents, may not know who, well, maybe from Larimer County, what kind of leadership or what kind of role, who's representing kind of our voices for Fort Collins and things in Larimer County on these intergovernmental agreements. I don't know. I know of her, but I'm wondering who else is kind of, and of course you. I mean, my hometown thing, but who else is kind of helping bring that Larimer County perspective?
Yeah, so on the Front Range Passenger Rail board, when they were constructed by the legislature through SB 21238, they are required to have representation from the state's MPOs along the alignment. So on the Northern Front Range, we have Councilmember Tricia Canonico. She is a part of the board. And then John Mallow from Loveland. I can't remember his exact title, deputy.
He's a mayor pro tem.
Mayor Pro Tem is also on their board as well. So you have those two individuals that actually serve on FRPR's board from Larimer County. And then also we have other stakeholders who are receiving periodic updates privy to the negotiations as well in coordination with BNSF's permission.
Awesome, and we're very fortunate. I know Commissioner Stevens is our representative on MPO, so I know she probably knew the answer to this question. I know she's trying to keep us all up to date. There's a lot of changes.
There are.
Certainly a lot of information, and thank you for sending these slides, and I look forward to looking through them. We contact you if we have further questions in the future, and grateful for you to come up here and present to us today. Great to see you both.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, colleagues. First of all, we greatly appreciate the good news. For those of us who have been longtime advocates of passenger rail, this is indeed quite exciting. So thank you for your work and legislatively and getting everyone to work together. I'm sure it's not a simple matter. I have two questions. One is, I'm curious, what kind of rail cars are we going to be using to provide this joint service?
That's a great question. When the infrastructure law of 22 was passed, it put in a Buy America, Build America requirement. That bill is the annual surface transportation bill. It's going to sunset, I think, in 2026. And that really spurred a lot of innovation within the United States to actually build, like Siemens, for example, is a manufacturer of passenger rail cars. They are booked out for years in advance, mostly in coordination with Amtrak to provide them a new fleet. Down in Pueblo, Colorado, there's actually a testing facility that Amtrak uses to test the new equipment, and Colorado just had the new Cascade cars that were here being tested. We want to ensure that we have clean technology that's being utilized along the Northern Front Range to really make sure that not only are we minimizing congestion on public highways and roads, but also make sure that we're thinking about the air quality and the attainment and non-attainment areas along the Front Range. So we're looking at available technology to get us started. I will say 2029 is really fast. 2026 is even faster to commence mountain rail that we're also doing. And so we're looking at all the available options on rolling stock that we can currently partner with Amtrak on to provide, for example, tack on to their options that they've already purchased and do that. It's just a matter of the legal and financing structure behind there. So we're looking at Amtrak and a few different technologies. We've also been approached by like Stotler, for example, based in Salt Lake City. So the technology, we're looking at all of the above to really get us to our service date.
May I continue? And thank you for that answer. And in terms of the fee structure that you described, that will also pay for these new, innovative, less polluting, hopefully, rail cars?
Yes.
Okay.
So through Senate Bill 184 and 230, we did a 25-year horizon of the 184 revenue. And what we were hoping to see was that the fee revenue would grow over time to really not only increase revenue over that 25-year horizon, but that the revenue would also support the expansion of this project in the future and really make sure it met the needs 10 years in, and that revenue does. So by 2050, we're looking at the 184 revenue reaching about $110 million a year. And then under the 230 revenue, once we're out of the Prop 117 cap next year, that revenue will grow to about $116 million a year and will grow every year after there to also support the project.
Thank you. My final question, and that is, how will this service, and I'm excited that we'll have connections to Fort Collins in my lifetime, how will this service be coordinated with what's proving to be very effective, and that is our bus rapid,
Yeah.
bus staying service? How will that coordination occur so that both are creating a synergy and giving people more choices to travel?
Yeah, the state of Colorado, we were excited through DOLA to actually give the city of Fort Collins a grant to actually study station stops here in Fort Collins and in the city of Loveland. CDOT has been closely coordinating with the city planners here in Fort Collins and in Loveland to identify stations to study for this service, and then also just making sure that they're brought along through the process and that they're providing their input. I think the city of Fort Collins is about to commence their own study process for a station here. And so we're making sure that we're looking at, for example, stations that already feed into the BRT system here in Fort Collins, feed into the bus system, feed into transport, making sure that we're really driving ridership and linking into existing networks.
Actually, one more. This should do it, Madam Chair. Thank you. And that is, what have you determined is the best way to address one of the challenges with commuter rail, that mile to get from one's home to the train station? Having grown up on the East Coast, that's a little bit different dynamic. But folks who commute, for example, from New Jersey into New York City, there are options for driving to the station, or perhaps taking a bus to the station and then going from there. Comments on that, please.
Yeah, first and last mile connection's big. We hear from our stakeholders all the time about that one. The
Okay.
230 funding that the state stood up through the Clean Transit Enterprise, local RTAs and transportation entities can actually apply for that funding to expand service and frequency. And so, for example, Transport in the future could apply, and I think they may already be in the queue to do this, to also build first and last mile connection in Fort Collins and then also down in Loveland as well. And so it's going to take all of us. I think this negotiation probably has like 12 different work streams. First and last mile connection is probably a work stream in and of itself. And even for example, I'll point to Mountain Rail, which we're going to commence service from Denver Union Station to Granby by November of next year, one daily round trip. We have 3 along that corridor. We are already partnering, for example, with the lift system in Winter Park and Grand County right there to make sure that they are adjusting their schedule to meet the new route and making sure that people, once they're off the train, can get to and from. The same kind of methodology and workflow will occur here as well.
In closing, had a very positive train experience with my 8-year-old granddaughter last March. We took the train from Union Station to California Zephyr, the Amtrak, to Grand Junction, and it was the first time she'd ever ridden a train, and it was quite a very positive experience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate the, not only letting us know about everything that's going on, but really letting the public know, because as Commissioner Cavalis was saying, people in Larimer County have been looking forward to a train for decades. And when people say to me now, well, I don't know, I've been hearing about that for decades, I always say, we have a plan, we have a financial plan, it's going to happen, and people are really excited about it here. So we're thrilled to learn more about, what the plans are and timelines. And the one question I have, do we feel like there's any federal dollars? Are there federal dollars left that we plan to access, or are those pretty much gone?
It's a great question. So, at the recommendation of the host railroad, if we wanted to commence service by January of 29, their recommendation is that if we were to access federal funds right now and actually be awarded that from the federal government, it would really delay our timeline. So, right now, this is going to start as a state provided service, and then Front Range Passenger Rail would say, kind of to the point of Commissioner Kafalis, that this service is for present day Coloradans. It's not for grandchildren in the future. It's to serve people today. But they, once their service development plan is completed, which is federally mandated, the feds want to see an actual plan that you've developed in coordination with the host railroad because of the kind of shadow that California high-speed rail has cast across the entire country. Their plan could be leveraged in the future as well to access federal funds. There's a few like calls to action things to be mindful of is that in the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill, we do want to ensure that Congress, appropriates money for intercity passenger rail and keeps that program going since Colorado's already in the queue. But for joint service right now, we were awarded about a $100 million grant last year, actually 66 from the feds, 33 from the state, to actually start building some of the infrastructure from Denver north. So that's the first pot of money that we have, but we haven't made any determinations yet. And that NOFO is currently out right now and due in January, and the CDOT team is looking to see what options exist and how to apply if needed.
Thank you. That's helpful. I was actually on Capitol Hill last week advocating for the surface transportation reauthorization. So I will keep that in my talking points that we need to have those dollars for passenger rail. Just thank you for being here. I don't want to weigh you down with too many more questions, and I just really appreciate the work that you're doing and being a small part of it has been really fun. When Commissioner Kafalis was asking about connections, right? I mean, at the MPO level, obviously, we'll work on that as well, and so we know that there will be on 34 that Greeley is looking at. Potentially bus rapid transit on 34, but some kind of bus service on 34, of which there's none now, which will help connect Weld County to the train service as well, and so that whole 34 corridor, even up to Estes Park, we're really trying to re-envision what transportation might look like on that corridor, which will bring people in as well. So there are a lot of people that will have the opportunity to ride the train, and that's exciting. So thank you again for being here. We really appreciate it. I guess we'll be in touch if we have any further questions, and or if we get questions from our constituents, which I think that we're starting to build up excitement, so we may have those. So we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
morning.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Brandon. All right. So we'll move on in our agenda to our discussion item. And the discussion item is approval of the acceptance of the Rimrock Ranch Conservation Easement as recommended by the Open Lands Advisory Board at its July 24, 2025 meeting. Did we have folks here to talk about that?
Commissioners, it looks like we do not.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
They were waiting in the wings, so to speak. So it looks like we have Megan here to and Alex. Ooh, sorry, my goodness, to introduce that item. Welcome. Just wait a minute for the slides to come up.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, stand by, folks. We're just having a few technical issues. Perfect. Looks like we're ready to roll now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Megan Flanagan with the Larimer County Natural Resources Department, and with me is Alex Swartz. And we want to share with you a project that was recommended by the Open Lands Advisory Board for your approval at last week's Open Lands Advisory Board meeting. And it's one that, looking at our master plan map that's on the screen, it's up in our Laramie Foothills priority area, so up at the north end of Larimer County and west of Red Mountain open space. And here the red circle is showing this 800-acre property that's white. And so you can see it's located adjacent to Red Mountain open space on the west side. And it's essentially an in-holding surrounded by Maxwell Ranch, owned by CSU Strata, and a state land board parcel that is one that we recommended as part of the state's stewardship trust, but has not yet been accepted into that. And as you know, we've been doing a lot of work in the Laramie Foothills over the last really 30 years. And so this map kind of shows what that landscape looks like as you look from the east edge of the county, Meadow Springs Ranch, owned by the city of Fort Collins, Soapstone Prairie, Red Mountain open space, and then as you go west, a lot of in orange conservation easements that we've worked with private landowners to conserve, connecting into both state and U.S. Forest Service land on the west side. And our goal in this Laramie Foothills landscape is really making that landscape connection and filling in some of the white areas that contribute to wildlife movement corridors, ecological connectivity, and the scenic viewsheds that we enjoy when we're there today. So with that, I'll turn over to Alex to take you through some of the details of this project.
Thank you, Megan. Good morning, Commissioners. Alex Swartz, Land Agent with the Engineering and Natural Resources Department. As Megan mentioned, this is an 800-acre property adjacent to our Red Mountain open space. Property is owned by a Foni Land Company. And in our Laramie Foothills Priority Conservation Area. As with all of our conservation easements, these are tailored to the landowner to fit their needs and their uses of the property while conserving the conservation values that we deemed important. Some of those conservation values, habitat values. The property provides habitat and migration corridors for a broad range of wildlife species, including mule deer, elk, mountain lion, bear, bobcat, red fox, and numerous other mammals and small reptiles and vertebrates. There's also a wide variety of migratory birds throughout the property. Open space values, obviously, with it being adjacent to our Red Mountain open space, protecting the scenic values and adjacent property to our open space is very important to our program. Agricultural land values, the current owner and past owners have used this as for agricultural uses, for haying and livestock use. The current owner does partner with the Maxwell Ranch and Strata to lease part of his property for a few months a year to run cattle on this property. This is a conservation easement donation, so the landowner will be leveraging the donation to earn state tax credits. We can get to some of the pictures. So this is on the north end of the property looking south. You see I have some of the hogback ridges to the east. On the left side of the property here, adjacent, and over that ridge would be our Red Mountain open space property. Valley going through here, there's some limited riparian drainages, some historical non-adjudicated springs are on the property, and some historical irrigation ditches that have been built throughout the land to help irrigate and sub-irrigate the haying fields that he has. This is on the east side of the property looking back west. Some of those drainages coming off the west side of his property down into the valley that he does use to hay. This is on the southeastern edge of the property looking kind of back northwest. You can see that valley sloping back down to the south. And this is up on the eastern edge, adjacent to our Red Mountain open space property. We share about a mile of border with this property that we're intending to conserve with this CE. This is, yeah, that's, you're good. So, as I mentioned, this is a full donation. There are no subdivision rights that are being reserved. This property will stay intact as it is into perpetuity. There is allowance for, currently there is one residence on the property and a couple outbuildings. The conservation easement does allow for one additional residence and 2 more outbuildings that will all be contained in one single building envelope.
One other really key part about conserving this property, in addition to the conservation values Alex described, is the legal access to this property. While it's going to be retained through Maxwell Ranch, they had a legal access as well through Red Mountain open space from the main county road, I forget the distance, but several miles through the open space, going up through a really unimproved road up the west hogbacks. And that was unrestricted. So if this had been developed into 35-acre parcels, there could have been a lot of traffic through Red Mountain, or that road improved to accommodate that level of use. The landowner still has access because of the easement, but just by limiting the development, it limits that impact to the open space. So I think that's it, if there's any questions.
Wonderful. Any questions? Commissioner Cavallis.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for your continued and ongoing work. We seem to be on a roll with various conservation easements in this year, so that's also good news. Thank you so much. I'm just curious, looking at this picture, this image. That's a rather striking geologic formation. Can you say more about that? Is that, I mean, north-south, that hogback? Is that some kind of an interesting canyon that we ought to be exploring or something?
I don't know the exact geology of the hogback, but it's similar to the hogbacks you get all up and down the Front Range of Larimer County that were forced up when the Rocky Mountains rose. And you're right, you get these canyons that come through and flow into Red Mountain that are just really spectacular and dramatic. And because the tops of these hogback ridges are really visible to Red Mountain open space and looking from the east to west, we're also preventing any sort of development from being in the viewshed of the open space and trail system. The current building envelope where the house is and where the additional structures can occur is way up at this north end.
Thank you. And it looks like those drainages must have, to the west, must have water in them certain times of the year. I mean, there's vegetation and all the rest.
Yeah, that's right. They're spring-fed, mostly ephemeral drainages, but the riparian vegetation is really beautiful, and then feeds this main drainage coming north to south.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well done, colleagues.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you. super excited about this. Serving on the Open Lines Advisory Board as liaison, it's been quite exciting to see all this come together. And I think we've done a lot of acreage this year. I think we're over 10,000 this year. And what does that look like compared to years past? I'm curious about that because it seems like since I've been on the board, we've had some pretty big either fee purchases or conservation easements. I'm just curious, what is this? It's been a really outstanding year, been a lot of great work by you all. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, thank you. You're right. This year is the second largest additional acreage that we've conserved in our program. The largest was 2004 when we purchased Red Mountain Open Space. We also purchased Chimney Hollow that year and the Blue Mountain Bison Ranch Conservation Easement, which is our largest conservation easement of 4,000 acres. So this year, yeah, it feels like we've been here a lot, which we really are happy to have had so many projects come to closure this year. And the total acreage, including this 800 acres, would put us right about 6,500 acres this year.
Oh, wow.
We might be back with another project. We'll see.
All right. Well, I for some reason thought I had 10,000, but maybe that might have been in a different organization that was sharing things. My next question is knowing, having been on NOCO places and seeing some of those, that map of assets or important resources like migration patterns and breeding grounds and for wildlife and in riparian areas. I know this area is very lit up with important area or important area for a lot of reasons, and so am I picturing that dark blue area in this area correctly? That this is like you said, conservation values are really rich and deep and very high.
Yeah, you're right. I wish I had that map to pull up real quick, but if you go into that codex, which is that free online application, and pull up the NOCO places layer, you can see the conservation summary map, which included all the layers that different entities, the Natural Heritage Program, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the Nature Conservancy's Resilient Landscapes layer, all those informed the compilation of that map. And so the darker the areas, the really dark purple, are those areas where there's a lot of resource value. And in Larimer County, we do have a lot of those. We're really lucky. But this landscape is the highest of all those. The next is down where we've did some of the conservation work this earlier this year, and Alex closed on the addition to Red Tail Ridge Open Space. So that area is a really high resource area too.
Thank you.
Yeah, just thank you for bringing this forward. We are happy always to see you, so keep coming back and keep bringing these items because it just feels great to be able to preserve these lands. And wow, some of those photos that you showed, what a remarkable, beautiful space. So we are happy to support this and grateful there again for the work that you do and all the relationships that you build to make this happen. So good work, and there again, come by anytime with another conservation easement. We love to see them. So with that, I don't have any questions, but I really appreciate seeing the space, and it is quite beautiful. So I will ask Commissioner Shattuck McNally to make a motion on this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, well done. Fantastic, tremendous work. Madam Chair and Board, I move that the Larimer County Board of Commissioners approve the resolution approving the acquisition of Rimrock Ranch Conservation Easement, deed of conservation easement, and statement of authority.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we will move on to our next agenda item, which is our county manager update.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to keep it very short today. It's been a really interesting meeting. I want to promote the 7th warrant clearance event that the 8th Judicial District is hosting. It will be on November 15th here at the Justice Center in Fort Collins. And so I encourage anyone who's listening to promote this. There's a flyer available both in English and Spanish on the county's website under our CJA offices. This is an opportunity, if you have a low-level warrant, to come and have it cleared, perhaps even have a hearing in the moment with a judge, and be able to walk out with a clean record and less worry perhaps as you go forward. So these have been great events. We've had hundreds of people come to each time, and also receive services because there's a resource fair as folks leave the event. So again, just to promote that, that is on Saturday, November 15th, right here at the Justice Center in Fort Collins.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Yeah, those have been very successful events. So we'll move on to Commissioner activity reports. Commissioner Kafalis, do you have a report today?
I'll just mention one thing. Last Wednesday, I attended the Larimer County Economic and Workforce Development Encompass graduation ceremony. There were, I think, 24 young people who achieved their high school equivalency diplomas, their GEDs, and they worked really hard for that. The test has gotten a lot harder over the years. It was at the Rialto. A lot of families were gathered. They were very proud, and it was a very nice ceremony. Well done, well orchestrated. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So I just want to share, I had some lunches and meetings with State Senator Kipp and some other electeds last week about legislation and partnerships. That was very productive. And then I attended the advisory board training for, I think, community corrections for restorative justice. And I could only stay for a little bit because I had some phone calls coming in from Rocky National Park, just asking some questions about the shutdown. But that was very insightful and very interesting for me. I'd done some restorative justice training through the school districts, and I saw some very great similarities. And I've done that training a few times through those areas, so it was great to see kind of that core process still kind of there. So that's great. I attended the North College Business Association meeting last week. I forgot her name now, but someone from our housing stability office shared about the landlord engagement program, and she did a great job. And so I just wanted to give her a shout out for that. And then I attended the Department of Natural Resources all staff meeting, which was out at our Emergency Operations Center. There's a great video on YouTube celebrating kind of what they've been doing in kind of the 30 years, and they had some great trivia. I was able to address them first thing in the morning, and what a tremendous group led by a wonderful team. As you saw, this team here with the conservation easement, it was just outstanding, and I just want to tell them great job with their meeting. Then I traveled down to the Butterfly Pavilion to join with Heidi Pruis from our sustainability to attend from the Colorado COSA. It's for the solar state solar Colorado solar association, along with Conservation Colorado, Nature Conservancy, others, to talk about the state of renewable energy, specifically solar. And there was some other county commissioners from Adams, Boulder, Clear Creek, and of course us and some towns. And it was really quite and CCAT was there. It was a really robust conversation. I appreciate their presentation. We had a great presentation of our budget last week. The 2025 revised and 2026 proposed. I want to thank our county manager and our budget team again for an outstanding job. That was a great presentation. For members of the public, if you want to go back and watch that, it was at 2:30 and it was on Wednesday, October 22nd. It's a great wrap up of where we're at, and I really encourage our public to engage and understand how our budget works and where our certain statuses. They do an amazing job to do a lot and great services with a very, we run very lean, and so we do a lot with very little. And then I attended the Community Advisory Board meeting, which started a little late, and it was at the coroner's office where they had a tour of the coroner's office. And I just have to give an amazing shout out to our coroner, Stephen Hanks, who does just a tremendous job. He was really sharing a lot of the victim services programs and a lot of work he's done with the PACT Act to serve veterans' families after they pass, to make sure they always get qualified for all the benefits they they deserve and earned, and he's been doing a lot. That's some new things, very compassionate actions out of the coroner's office to make sure we're helping victims and families after someone's passing. So I think that's amazing. I ran because that ran late. I was late and got there at the very end of the high school and Encompass meeting. I got to see some of the staff and a couple of the families outside and got my cupcake, which is great. I appreciate them making sure I got one. That was wonderful. And then I was sworn in on Thursday. Just want to let my colleagues know for the Visit Estes Park meeting. And so I got sworn in officially because it is a taxing district, might only be appointed. I also have to be officially sworn in. And so I'm now officially sworn in, and the new incoming executive director, Sarah. Why am I drawing a blank? Sarah was there. She's not official till December, but I think you'll all enjoy meeting her. I did tour Love and Meals on Wheels, which also is the same location, shares the kitchen with Community Kitchen, Lovin's Community Kitchen. It was a great conversation. I also want to let you know that another partnership out of that small, mighty kitchen that's serving two really impactful nonprofits in Loveland is they're now serving the meals to the Landing, the youth homeless shelter, because of budget constraints. So they're also providing meals, hot meals, and warm, a great food to that the youth homeless shelter, the Landing, and I really am think that's an amazing partnership, and I wanted to kind of give that a shout out because they're making sure folks stay fed, and as we know what's coming. November 1st, I think it's important to ask folks to look into some of these nonprofits and to the food bank and do what we can to support our families in our Larimer County and the state that receive SNAP benefits. And so I've been having a lot of conversations with nonprofits and organizations looking to support those with food insecurity, because there's a lot in our county, and they say about half of those in Colorado are children. So I think we need to kind of keep that in mind. And then we had our joint Parks Advisory Board and Open Lands Advisory Board on Thursday. It was really a great discussion, and we had some great collaboration between the two boards. They're really gelling and coming together and really valuing each other's input and feedback. And I think it's been a great conversation. So that was really impactful. And let's see. I think that's all I wanted to share, Madam Chair. I went to the Resource Fair for the mobile home park on Saturday, and I want to give out our partnership with Fort Collins and the mobile home park residents, MIVOS, and we had our Office Emergency Management there giving out information. There was a lot of giveaways for like smoke detectors and drain pipe cleaners and just lots of really great information. The vibe was very positive, and I really appreciated everyone there. I want Samantha and the folks from Mivos and all of them, what strong work they do and passion and how hard they work for in that community. We had lots of great conversations. Then I drove up to the Livermore Community Wildfire Protection Plan meeting. I knew almost the whole room. It was great. The lots of folks even down from Glacier View. We had one of our former planning commissioners that was there. Ember Alliance was leading that conversation, and it was really powerful. Some great work from the community. It was well attended, and I appreciate their shout out and the time that I got to be there to learn more and to share with what they're trying to do in that community. And then yesterday, I toured the Longview Adolescent Unit one more time before we can't really go in when we start receiving folks. And then I want very proud that the 2025 Colorado Opioid Abatement Conference was held here in Larimer County at the Embassy Seats. The Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser was here most of the day, and moderating a lot of great, powerful panels, especially for those who have consumer input, for those who are receiving some of those supports. And it was really a really exciting day and lots of great conversations. We had commissioners from all around the state that came, and I wanted to share. I went in between our land use hearings to the Colorado Communities in Action Leadership Award, which is a part of the Opioid Abatement Conference, and the AG's office gave out some leadership awards, and our Larimer County Jail, which was a surprise to me. I didn't know, but they got another award. Captain Stacy Schaefer had gotten one a couple of years last year, I think, and this year I saw. I think it's, or maybe it's not. It's Captain. Bradberg was there, and so our Limerick County Jail received another leadership award. I have a picture of it. County Manager Lauren DeVolker, I'll share it with you, but I want to just give them a shout out and congratulate them for receiving another award for their work in this space, and well done. And I just want to make sure my colleagues knew about that award. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I did a few things last week. Try to be brief here. I was in Washington, D.C. With the National Association of Counties, advocating for the surface transportation reauthorization, as was said in our presentation on rail that comes up next year. Largely what we were asking for were carve-outs for counties to make sure that counties could potentially be eligible for some of the funding and not necessarily have to compete against state departments of transportation, and that we would potentially even be available to have block grant funding that either came down directly to us or through the MPOs. So just trying to make sure that there is funding for county roads and bridges. We were reminding our congressmen and senators that that counties own majority of the roads and bridges across the country. So as far as, and then they gave us some stats for Larimer County, which were interesting. So of all the bridges in Larimer County, including bridges that are, owned publicly by either cities or the federal government or the state, we operate, own and maintain over 40% of those bridges, and over 34% of the roads in Larimer County. And so we only get about 8 to 14% of the funding from the federal government. And so we wanted to make them aware of that. We visited with Senator Grassley's office, Senator Hickenlooper's office, Senator Padilla's office, and several representatives, including Representative Gabe Evans. We were visiting also representatives from California and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania gives you Hershey chocolate, so that was a fun visit. So we just need to keep plugging, the message that we want to see more carve-outs for dollars for counties, more reasonable permitting, especially in the right-of-way, and make sure that we keep that same dollar amount. The IIJA, people might remember, was the last surface reauthorization. There were a lot of dollars allocated for infrastructure, and we would like that to be the floor, and not and because we really need these dollars. So it's great to work with people from across the country. Had a lot of engineers on our team, so from National Association of County Engineers, and so that was a great experience, and hopefully we will see some dividends from that visit. We approved our budget at the Non-Attainment Area Air Pollution Mitigation Enterprise board meeting on Thursday. On Saturday, I went to Denver to do interviews for the service academies. So this is my 5th year helping the senators do these interviews to make sure that we're getting good candidates to move on to our service academies. It's always a great opportunity to feel good about the future. These are young people that are remarkable. They are Eagle Scouts, and they volunteer at food banks, and they are captains of their respective sports teams. And so having those conversations is always really uplifting. So I get as much out of it probably as I put into it, but it is a good experience. And finally, I also toured the adolescent wing of the Behavioral Health Center. I had been ill when we had done the opening, and so it was great to be able to see that facility. Really exciting to be able to bring young people into that. And I toured with several social work students who had lots of good questions and were way more subject matter experts than I was. But it was it was good to see it through their eyes, because they were really supportive of what we're doing in that space and the way it looks, and the kind of furniture even that's in that space. And so just a really great job done by our Amy Martonis took us on the tour, and just really great job by Amy and people at Summit Stone to really make this happen. So we are looking forward to welcoming young people into that space and helping them take care of some of the issues that they're dealing with. So that is it for me. We do have an executive session this morning, and no decision is expected. So after the executive session, we will be signing off. So I will ask Commissioner Kofalas to make the motion for that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of County Commissioners move into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-4024A regarding purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real or personal property.
Thank you, Commissioner. There's a motion on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. So our meeting is ended. We will move into executive session, and we will see you next week, Larimer County. Thank you.